Hello there. Can I help you with anything? Oh, you rang in earlier. Oh, you must be Sive, is it? Oh yeah, that's perfect. My name's Hannah. So you're looking for some art supplies, are you? Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Is there anything in particular that you're interested in? Lino printing. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I have a ton of lino printing things here to show you. So I suppose, among other art things as well, I suppose I should do lino printing first then, seeing as that's your priority. We have two types of lino printing block with us. The first one is this large blue lino printing block. It has no backing on it, and it is very, very flexible. It is cheaper than the other one that we have. However, this one could be a little bit more risky to use, as when you are printing it can slip, and when you are cutting it can also slip. That could result in some bloody injuries. However, that doesn't happen too much, so you're free to try it out. It is, however, this size is pretty big, and it is the only one we have in stock at the moment. However, we do have other ones that we can order in for you. They're about an A5 size, which is about that big. That is that one. The second one we have is a lot more harder and durable. It is a lot less flexible, however if you run it under warm water for a period of time it will become more flexible. It has a backing on it, a wicker sort of, not wicker, twine backing inlaid into the back of it. This gives it extra stability, and it's less likely to slip when you're printing and when you're cutting into it, so it's a lot more durable. This would be my personal preference, and we do offer it in a wide variety of sizes, and we have those in stock at the moment. This is the smallest size that it comes in. It comes in about twice this size and then twice that size again, which would be about this size in total. Those are our lino printing blocks anyways. Just put these to the side here. For inks, we have various colours of inks. We have green, black, blue, white, red, yellow, orange, and brown as well. These are the sizes that they come in. It's 250 ml in a bottle. The bottles are €4 each, which is cheaper than you actually would find at most online stores. The purpose of getting ink instead of just using paint for lino is that lino ink has to be somewhat sticky to work. But one word of caution is that some people do mix PVA glue with acrylic paint, and although in some cases that does work, there is always a risk of PVA glue sticking to the paper while you're printing, so it can result in the page ripping and your print being ruined in the end. So that is why it's more better to use specially made lino printing ink. This ink is very good. It dries quite slowly but faster than most other inks. It takes about maybe a day to try this ink, and the bottles actually are quite good quantity in it. Although it's only 250 ml, you don't need much ink when you're inking a block anyways, depending on the size, but on average it's only just a little squidge like that size. So that's the inks. The next thing I have to show you is a little set that contains the blades and the gouger to gouge out your lines for lino printing. This is a little set that we have on offer here. It's very, very, very useful, and it's also cheaper to buy the set than to buy the gouger and the blades all by themselves. And also when it's stored like this, you can use this to rub down the print onto the page, which is much better than using your hand because there's more friction between your hand and the page than with this, so there's less chance of the page slipping and stuff. So let me just open this here for you. What comes in this is a handle for the gouger, which is also screwed in here. This is a nice little small blade. Not blade, handle. You lift off this little lid, and inside there is the attachment for attaching the blades onto the handle. It's a little metal hollow piece like this, almost like a little knot or bolt. Then we have our blades. This set comes with 5 blades ranging in sizes from 1 through to 5. 5 is the largest blade that we have on offer here, while 1 is the smallest. 5 creates very large gouges and is only recommended for use when you really want to gouge out almost the entire thing. 1 is our smallest. It's very useful for small details. However, the cuts can sometimes be shallow, which can mean that the ink can get into them, and this can cause the lines not to show up when you print them. So be sure to gouge them very deeply when you do cut with them. To attach the blades onto this, you screw this on halfway, like so. Then you get a blade on the wider end, usually. It's a little bit rounded. It fits into this little hole that you see here perfectly. So you slot that in, and then you screw the rest of it shut tight. Then you're ready to gouge. It fits into your hand quite nicely. I'm not going to judge it on its ergonomics, but it's useful. And you can fit all of the blades back in here like this. On at the top. Place this little part on top, and you screw this back in. It's very useful. Last thing I have to show you is the roller. It's a kind of a rubber based roller. I know you can get steel ones, I think, but I prefer to use these. I just think they're more smoother. What you do with these is you just put a little bit of ink on, make sure it covers the entire thing evenly, and then you roll it onto the block before printing. Now I will show you some examples of previous liner prints. This is a block that was gouged out. And as you can see, it was the main size that we used to gouge this was a number 1 because there are so many small tiny details in it, such as the horns. Give you a close look. And this was then printed. There was 2 prints made of this one. The first one was printed onto a sheet that already had lino ink onto it. Unfortunately, the artist did not let the ink dry completely, so it did not turn out how they wanted it in the first place. But I still think it's quite a pretty effect it created. That is it there. And as you can see, the details did not come out completely in the end, but still it's nice colour, I think, and good effect. The second piece came out a lot more clear. This was printed just straight onto a page using black lino ink. This one was using orange mixed with yellow and black. This one came out a lot clearer, and a lot more good looking. Also, I think the border looks quite nice, although the piece is not completely centre. The artist is just an amateur. So quite good for it. Now, that's all the lino printing tools I have to show you. Is there any ones in particular that you're interested in there? The gouging set and a couple of those grey blocks. Yeah, that's perfect. I'll just type those in there. Are there any other things you would like? Some black ink? Yeah, that's fine. And what size of lino blocks would you like in the grey? The one that last one was done on? Yeah, that's fine. How many of those would you like? Just 2? Yeah, that's perfect. We also have lino printing classes here every Thursday at 5 in the evening. So if you're interested, just pop along to them anytime you want. Like, there really is all kind of range of levels there, so you don't have to feel intimidated or daunted at all by coming. And our instructors are very helpful and friendly. So, moving on, I suppose I will show you. Oh yes, we have lots of aging equipment. That sounds strange, but it will make sense in a few minutes. What they are paints and substances that can make your pieces look old. You know, create a kind of weathered look almost on them, and distressed. And the line that we have most of is actually distress inks. But the first thing I will show you is a jar of this. This is Metal Effects iron paint. It is very heavy, but what it is metal. It's basically liquid iron, sort of, and it stinks. It smells really bad. I can't help but smell it. It just smells like a pool of blood or something. Does it? It is pretty awful, isn't it? But it turns out amazing. I don't have any examples to show you at the moment, but you paint one coat on and you let that dry for half an hour, and then you paint a second coat on and you let that dry for an hour, and then what you can buy is Metal Effects Rust Activator, and that makes it rust very quickly and creates a good rust look, I suppose. What else? You can, however, do it yourself, and I will tell you a few tips or tricks about that now. Don't use bleach to rust it, because bleach creates a very dull rust that you cannot see. It's very dark red in colour, and you can't even distinguish it. It also prevents it from rusting with any other substances, so I would not recommend it. Lemon juice is alright, it's not the best. Vinegar is quite good, but one of the best ones is actually a tip that I learned from an engineer at one point. In some engineering companies, they have to test things to make them rust, and what they do is they set the thing up, standing up, and they put a little tray or something to collect any of the excess water that runs off. And what they do is, like, you know, once or twice, every 1 or 2 days, they would spray some salt and water on it and let it soak it up completely, and eventually a really good layer of rust will build up from that. I've not tried that myself, but you know, if that's what they use in industry, I think it must be pretty good. However, you can go onto our website and order some of that Metal Effects Rust Activator. I'm very sorry we don't have any in stock at the moment, actually. I would totally show you some if we did. But that's just a free way of doing it. So yes, that's that. The next thing I have to show you is her distress inks. I have 2 with me at the moment. One of them is Gathered Twigs and the other one is Aged Mahogany. And these are just little ink pads that you can use to create an aged effect. They're like this. You can rub them straight onto the page. I'll show you now. create sort of that did not turn out very well, but you catch my drift. That is the aged mahogany. That's the lovely kind of reddish colour. Next is gather twigs. And let's gather twigs there. And what you can do then is you can spritz some water on it. These aren't great examples because I just did them there now, and the page is quite rough, so to the try it wouldn't be too great. I will show you an example later on when it looks really good combined with another one of our products, which I will reveal momentarily. Just after I show you this. This is a colour wash by the same people who do Distress Inks, Ranger, and what it is it's a little kind of a spritzer atomizer bottle, and it contains brown ink which you can just spray on the page like so. Okay, it does not seem to be working at this moment, so oh, maybe that was it. Oh, that's it. Oops. Okay, yes. That's what you do there. So you can just spray it on like that, and it will show up. I'm just clean this desk here. Sorry about that. This is also water based, and it will, if you spray water onto it or just like drip water, it will create a lovely watercolour sort of a wash effect. And that ends up looking really well if you do it right and everything. The next thing I have to show you is a little bottle of Distress Crackle Paint. This is kind of similar to the nail varnish crackle paint that you see a lot of people wearing now. It comes in, unfortunately we only stock them in these small little bottles, and you do have to paint it on quite thickly, so it does run out very fast. It's this very kind of thick gooey paint. It doesn't drip very easily or anything. And what you do is you paint it on quite thickly. If you paint it on thinly, cracks will not appear. It's warning. But if you paint it on thick enough, these cracks will appear, and the thicker you paint it, the thicker the cracks will be. But the finer the cracks. And then you can use your Distress inks over it once it has dried, and it will highlight the cracks, and it ends up with a really, really cool effect. I'll actually show you an example of that in a little while. And so the next thing I'll show you is some of our inks. This little box of inks here. Here we have some white ink. We only stock Winsor & Newton ink here, but it's of very high quality, and it will not run out very fast. We stock all sorts of colours, even metallic colours like gold and silver and bronze, along with everything else from red to blue to pink to purple, yellow, whatever. Any colour you can really think of, we probably have it. They are very good for creating strong, bold colours, and white ink is especially useful for really highlighting things. The next thing that I will show you is a watercolour palette. This is also by Winsor & Newton, as you can see. Its logo there. Now, I'm sorry, this one is very well loved, as the staff here often use it to create stupid paintings in their little staff sketchbook. This is it. It comes with 12 colours, and as you can see, a little paintbrush that fits right in there. There's also mixing palettes. That comes in very useful, and it's very good size, and the colours in it are really great because if you mix them you can basically create anything. The one thing that I will say is that there is no black included in this. However, we do sell all the tablets that fit in here separately, so you can mix and match and all sorts of things. Are you interested in any of those products I just showed you? The crackling and the distressings? Okay, yeah, that's perfect. I'll just put those in there. That's fine. I suppose I'll show you some paintbrushes that we have. We have a couple of thick paintbrushes to show you. These are some of our thicker collection of paintbrushes. As you can see, they are all by the same brand. They're actually our own brand paintbrushes. This is a round number 12, as is this one, but this one has a point on it, and this one is kind of a lot more kind of spread out because it has been used quite a bit. These are just display only. When you do buy these, don't worry, they will be all fresh and new. This one is I don't know, is that a flat or a square or whatever, but it's like, you know, thin compared to the round one. And this is a round number 8. These are all really great for doing large areas when you're painting, and also doing washes of paint. We also have various smaller brushes as well, such as this very small brush, very tiny brush that we have. However, the problem with tiny brushes is that they can sometimes bend if you use them a bit too roughly, which I have a bad habit of doing. And we also have this very soft brush here. This is very good and effective for actually softening looks. Like when you paint something, you can just like dab this on and it will be softer looking. Another thing that I mentioned is our watercolour masking fluid. This is also by Winsor & Newton. It comes in a little glass bottle like so. This is very useful if you're into watercolour art. It is a white coloured liquid. You paint it on using a brush that you don't care if it's ruined, because masking fluid does ruin your brushes sadly. So you paint it on with that and it will dry. You paint it over areas that you want to leave white if you're doing a wash of colour, or little details that you want to leave white and don't want to just avoid painting them. You can paint right over them, and once you have this on and once it's dry, it won't let any paint get through to the paper underneath. I do only recommend using it in small doses because it can be quite difficult to take off. It dries a kind of a translucent yellowish colour, and it's very rubbery when you take it off, and the difficulty taking it off sometimes can be it can tear the paper, but usually if you only use it in small doses it will not tear the paper. What else? You can just do a border of an area that you want largely done white, so you can have a smooth line. It can be quite difficult and can get on your hands. It dries very easy if you get it on your hands actually, but it's just a bit messy, but it's very, very useful. I use it all of the time. It doesn't go off very easily at all actually. It lasts a very long time, and as long as you just give the bottle a good shake, it will not use any bother. I also have some markers here. Show you. We supply these pro markers. This comes with a fine tip, like so, and they also come with a chisel tip, like that. These are very good. I like them. They come in very beautiful colours and they do not dry out very easily at all. The next ones I will show you are Copic sketch markers. These come with a brush tip and a chisel tip. Brush tip is like so, the chisel tip is the same as the other one. These ones come in a very, very large variety of colours. They are quite expensive however, and I do find that they dry up quite easily. However, they are very, very good. They kind of remind me of paint because you can create lots of kind of different shades of the one colour just with the one marker. So it's very, very useful. These are a smaller version of Copic sketch markers. These are Copic chair markers. These come with the same edges, however they are cheaper but they store less ink. These are very, very good. They come in less colours than the Copic sketch I think, but they are still very useful. They do dry up a little bit too. Just be aware of that. Next ones I will show you are Treant markers. These comes with 3 nibs on them. A very fine nib, a brush tip, oh that's a chisel tip, sorry, and a brush tip. One thing I have found with these is that the tips can actually break, especially with the brush tip. And the colours are very blocky. You can't really vary the colours with just one marker. However, they do last a very long time and they are very good like that. The last ones I have to show you is Faber-Castell Pitch Marker Artist's Pen thing. These come with a very fine tip. These are very good for detail, and the ink lasts quite a long time in these also. I also have some pencils to show you. This is a Staedtler 4H pencil. 4Hs I would not recommend for artists usually, unless you're into drawing really, really light sketches. These would be more for people who do technical graphics, as they are hard pencils and they're difficult to rub out. They do, however, produce a very, very light drawing, and if you lean heavily on them, they're impossible to rub out. Take it from experience. This is a Derwent sketching pencil. This is very good. It's light, but it's a very soft pencil, so it's very good for sketching. One of my personal favourites would definitely be the mechanical pencil, as I like to do my sketches very small and detailed. So the very kind of small nib that's on these is really good, and you don't have to pair them. I hate pairing pencils, it's so messy. This one is just a clicky one, and they can also be refilled if you remove the rubber at the top, and inside is a little hole where you can fit more leads. We also sell the leads separately, so if you're on out you can always come back and buy more. This one, however, these are cheaper than the other ones, but you cannot refill these as they are twisty, and you twist them and more lead comes out, or you twist them backwards and the lead goes back in. These are good. they actually seem to last longer as they don't break as easily as the clicky ones I find. But yes, the last thing I wanted to show you was our sketchbook. I have a sketchbook here. It's a very, very versatile sketchbook. It has a beautiful cover on it. It's a hardback book, and it's very full. This is actually what the staff used to doodle in on their days off. It takes paint and markers and pencils and everything very well. As you can see, there's paintings in there, and I will try and find some other images to show you how things work out. I will show you how the crackle paint looks. This is an example of the crackle paint. I don't know if you can see that properly, but that is all the cracks, and there is some distress ink put over that to make them look deeper. As you can see here, these cracks are very obvious and they create a very lovely veined look. Also on that is an example of that spray I was showing you, a more better example, and the distress inks as well have been used on that page. I'll try and find other examples. An example of watercolours used on it. They just fit very well, even though it's not intended for watercolours. They still turn out looking very good on the page. So it's a win. It also takes to markers quite well, although I don't think I have much examples of markers in this book. As all those markers that I showed you there were alcohol based, so the problem with that is that they seep through the paper, so you want to have like some blotting paper on underneath, or just another sheet of paper to stop it getting through to the next page and ruining your book. So I hope you liked what I showed you today. Was there anything else? Was there anything you were interested in getting there? Sketchbook? Okay, yep, that's fine. If I will grab these in the store now, so if you just want to head over to the till, and I will be over to you in a minute with everything. That's perfect. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.